Hey everyone, this is Erin Lincoln. I'm here today to show you how to put together my Scissor Keeper stitching dies. As you can see here, they are found in the Quick Stitch Sewing Staples Kit that's available on March 1st, and also on March 15th they'll be available individually for purchase. So we're going to show you how to put those together, and also this lovely little floral accent on them using some beading. So lots to learn, so let's get right to it. Okay, here's my original one that I put together just to show you. The inside is completely lined with white felt and no threads or tie-offs are showing. And it also holds a pair of embroidery scissors, so you can get all ready for all these wonderful stitching die projects that are coming up in the next year. And we have this lovely floral cluster with beading and embroidery. It's a lot of fun. Okay, so we're gonna start with the Scissor Keeper dies. There's two. There's one that is a solid line, straight line all the way around, and you saw the other one, which is a scallop. And you could use them together or individually. That's what's really nice. There's like 3 different versions of the Scissor Keeper. So we're going to make the a Scissor Keeper that has a scalloped border on it. Now I'm using my scissors just to cut around, rough cut around the die on the felt. I like to do this just to get rid of that extra felt. I don't like extra felt hanging around. And then out of raspberry fizz felt, I am cutting around the scalloped edge part of the Scissor Keeper. I'll just show you how this all works together on my vagabond. All right, this does fit on your plate, no problem. Standard size plate. And we're just going to go ahead and run it through. Now, certain colors of felt, based on my experience, I can only assume it's the dye used to make certain colors. Sometimes it affects how they cut. And so this Hawaiian Shores, I think is what it is, this little inner part right here didn't cut as cleanly as it would on maybe a different color felt. So I'm just using my scissors to aid it a little bit, popping that bit out of the handle. No big deal. It's cut enough so I can see exactly where to cut. So it's super easy. I don't really think it holds me up any or takes away from, the stitching die. We're going to put that aside, and now we're going to cut the hibiscus, raspberry fizz scalloped layer. Now, before we had that little trouble with the handle cutting out. To prevent that from happening here, I'm going back the other way. So I'm cutting it twice. And we've really learned a lot with these stitching dies, and the holes are far enough away from the edge where you shouldn't have any bouncing of the plates and the holes going off the edge like you might with the baby booties or the coin purse. So you're safe going back. Okay, if you remember on the photos I showed you before, we're going to have a little floral design, and these are the Floral Cluster 1 dies. For every shape, there is an outline die and a holes only die. Now, into the actual covering part of my Scissor Keeper, I'm cutting these dies that are holes only. And again, these are like lacing cards when you're a kid, just the grown-up version of them. So we are showing ourselves, making it easy for ourselves where to place our flowers and our leaves. And as you can see, I can just kind of rub the edge at the top of the felt and these holes come out. It helps orient me as to where I want to put my leaves. So I'm going to get the holes only on the largest leaf. There's actually like 3 or 4 leaves, all of different sizes, lots of variation. And I'm going to cut this twice on either side of the flower on this Hawaiian Shores piece of my Scissor Keeper. That's 1. And there's 2. And because I know where those holes are, I know where the flower is going to be, I can space the leaf and place it where I need it. It's very windy here in Maryland right now, and if you hear my windows rattling, I'm right in front of a window. That's what that noise is. Sorry. But we got to get these videos done. I have a schedule. Okay, now here is the corresponding die for the flower that also cuts the edges, so you get the shape and the holes. I'm cutting this out of pure poppy. And I actually just think it's easier to go back and cut a second time. That's my workflow, so you'll see me doing that a lot. Okay, there's the leaf, and this is going to cut the shape of the leaf and the holes. Now I'm only cutting one here, but I actually need two. I'm just trying to save time on the video. So you'll see a leaf magically appear, I think. Yep, there it is. And these are like the little flower centers, and they nest together so you have an outline. And these are going to cut the shape and the holes. There's also the corresponding holes only dies. And if you notice that pink, that pure raspberry fizz, that's the center of my scissor keeper. So that was just scrap. I try to save felt as much as possible. Stuff's expensive, and when you have all these little pieces, there's no reason why you can't use it like this. All right, there we go. We have all our pieces, and see how one goes right on top of the other, and there's a nice pink border, and then it's just going to go on top of that pure poppy flower. Okay, now also included in the Sewing Stables kit is this floral cluster, which I used right here, and this is the holes only die for that. And I just want to take a second and show you where you would cut this in the top of the scissor keeper so it would fit. And there's a notch in the die, and the notch goes straight down to the point of your scissor keeper. You feel around, feel where all those raised cutting edges are. It's almost like braille, so you can make sure nothing is too close to the edge and everything's within the stitch parameters. And again, you see that notch goes straight down to the bottom of the scissor keeper. So that's just to orient yourself when you want to do that. Okay, so I had to cut double here. I have 2 solid line scissor keepers and 2 scalloped because it takes 2 to make each side. And on one of those solids, we cut our holes to correspond with our floral motif. I just wanted to point that out. Using a blunt end of a rather thick needle to poke out the holes. Now I sped this up a little bit because I just wanted to show you how I do a running stitch. And then I go back. So we're going to completely show you how I sew in this little leaf, and you take what you learn here and you kind of apply it to everything else. So it's a running stitch in one direction using the holes that is placed by your dies, and then you just go right on back. Man, I am a fast sewer. If only I sewed this fast in real life. But you can see the holes make it really simple to have a even professional look. There you go, and you just tie off the back. Okay, we're going to move on to this flower and show you the stitch detail here. Now you notice there's like a box of holes there that make up the flower center. You take one corner, one hole of that box, and you go out to the 3 stitches in I say it's a quarter petal because there's 4 petals per flower. And you just keep weaving it back to that one hole. So you hit that center hole 3 times and you get this sort of like a chicken footprint look. And then you do it for all 4 of them. I don't know how else to describe it. Okay, I went ahead and changed my needle and my thread. I was using pearl cotton and a big needle, and I went to a size 26 tapestry needle and 2 strands of floss to do the beading here, because our size E beads that are included in the kit, I made sure the holes were rather big on these beads, but you still need a smaller needle. The needle I was using originally wasn't working. So you just go up through the hole, place your bead through your needle, go back down through the same hole, and because the bead is bigger than the hole, it's not going to fall through. And that is how you do your beading. Just a word of advice, do not try to tie off a single bead. Always connect it to another bead or another element, because when you knot it in the back, that knot's not big enough to secure it with the holes from the stitching dies. Okay, moving on. Now that our floral motif is done, make sure everything lines up. These are not symmetrical, so you have to make sure before you stitch everything up that all the scallops fit nicely. There you go. Now you see on the left is the bottom of my scissor keeper, and on the right is the top. And we have to stitch together the handles individually. So I'm going to start here on this inner handle, and I'm going to do a running stitch. And then you guys hear me say it all the time, I go in one direction and I go back. So I just want to demonstrate for you that if you're new to these stitching dies. Now I don't like when I film a video to flip my project over to see the hole and then flip it back, because I feel like it gives you vertigo. So I'm trying to avoid that, but the result is my stitching isn't that neat because I'm finding those holes blindly from behind. So cut me a little slack here on the video. I try my best. These things are really easy to put together. You throw in a video camera, it gets a little bit more exciting. Alright, so running stitch in one direction. Now I'm just going to reverse back and fill in those stitches. Now, I actually think it looks pretty cute as is. So if you want to leave it that way, go right ahead and save yourself half the sewing. Sewing doesn't bother me. I find it very relaxing, so I don't mind filling them in. I'm going to go back around the inner handle here. I've done that, and now I'm going to find the holes that are parallel to that bottom part of the handle, and that's right here. I'm going to go in from the inside so I can tie off my knot between the layers of felt. Now I'm going through both pieces of felt, and I'm going to go all the way around to the corresponding point on the other side. It's a half circle basically. And again, they are flush with that line of stitching there below the inner handle opening. Yep, right there. So I've gone all the way one way, and now we're going to reverse and go back. And that's really the point where you want to stop. There's kind of like a corner there, like an angle, and that's another hint. That's where you're going to join your two pieces together. Okay, all done. I'm just going to show you here. I go in through the back through only one layer of felt, because if you remember before, I started this by going on between the two layers, and I'm going to tie off my knot, and then my knot's hidden. Easy peasy Japanesey, as Eliza Jane, my little girl, would say. Okay, now I did the other one, exactly the same as the top one. Now I'm going to put them together, and I'm going to sew them together along the V of the scissor keeper. Going in through the middle, and now I'm going through all 4 layers. So your handles are stitched separately, and like the body where your blades of your scissor would go are stitched together. So 4 layers of felt. Now, I said before, you could, see we're going to go all the way in one direction, all the way back. You could use just the scallop piece or the straight edge piece, and it would work well too. Okay, there, it's done. My little girl wanted these really bad, and so we got her safety scissors, and we put them in her scissor keeper, and she's been anxious for me to photograph this whole thing so she could officially have them. So there you go. Super cute. Great school gift, teacher gift, or a gift for a friend who's into sewing. Or really anybody. I would love to have one of these. It makes your scissors easy to find. Alright, and that's how you do that. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks. We'll be back with more tutorials later.